She sat in the cold plastic chair outside the principal's office, arms folded tightly across her chest, trying to hold herself together. Her name was Asha Brooks, straight A student, captain of the debate team, and the girl who kept her head down because she'd been taught that being black and brilliant made you a threat. Her mother worked 2 jobs, her father passed when she was 8, and her grandma, God rest her soul, used to say, "Baby, don't let them shrink you to fit their box." But today, it felt like the box was winning. Inside the office, Principal Whitaker's voice boomed like thunder behind closed doors, rehearsing the same tired narrative: she's defiant, disrespectful, always has that attitude. The secretary, white-haired and tight-lipped, looked at Asha like she already knew the outcome. And Asha? She was still trying to understand how questioning why Black History Month posters had been torn down turned into this. A suspension. 3 days. Just for asking a question. The worst part? Nobody in that school stood up for her. Not the teachers she stayed late for, helping grade papers. Not her counselor, who once said she reminded her of a young Michelle Obama. Not even the vice principal, who nodded along when Whitaker slammed down the referral slip like a judge's gavel. "We can't have insubordination," he said. Insubordination. Like she was a soldier who refused an order instead of a teenager with a voice. She walked home that day with her hoodie up and her pride crumbling. The suspension meant missing the regional debate finals, a competition she'd worked toward for 2 years. It meant one more mark on her record. One more reason for Whitaker to keep her out of the honors program. She cried in the stairwell of their apartment complex, where nobody could hear her. Not because she was suspended, but because they'd stolen her right to be seen. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Asha had been recording. Her phone, left face down on the table during the meeting, captured every word Whitaker had said. "She has a chip on her shoulder," he muttered. "Girls like her don't take correction well. Girls like her." Those 3 words burned hotter than the suspension notice itself. Her mother, furious but calm, drove her to a community center that night where a group of black educators held weekly meetings. One of them, Ms. Joyner, had been in a similar fight 10 years ago. She smiled at Asha like a soldier welcoming a new recruit. "You ready to shake the table?" she asked. And Asha, with her voice still shaking but eyes full of fire, nodded. By the end of the week, the video had gone viral. Not just in their school district, across the state. Hashtag swarmed, hashtag let Asha speak, hashtag bad attitude or backbone, hashtag suspended for speaking. Alumni called the school board. Local journalists asked for interviews. Students staged a walkout, led by someone no one expected, Whitaker's own daughter, Lila, who held up a sign that read, "If speaking up is a crime, suspend me too." That same day, Asha got a call from the National Debate League. They saw the video. They were reinstating her for finals. She would speak. Loud. Proud. And televised. When Principal Whitaker was summoned to a special board hearing, his smug smile had vanished. He tried to spin it. "She misunderstood me. It was taken out of context." But the board had seen enough. They told him to take administrative leave pending investigation. For once, he was the one being silenced. And Asha? She walked back into school like she owned the place. Because now, she kind of did. But just as things seemed to be falling into place, Asha got a strange message slipped into her locker: no name, no return address. Just a folded piece of paper with 6 chilling words scrawled in red ink: "You don't know who you're fighting." Asha stared at the note, her heart racing. The paper felt heavier than it should have. Not because of its weight, but because of what it meant. This wasn't over. She had rattled the cage, and now something had stirred. Someone wasn't just mad, someone was threatened. She showed the note to her mom that night. Could be anyone, her mom said, locking the front door twice. Jealous student. Angry parent. Staff. Be careful, baby. But Asha didn't want to be careful. She wanted to finish what she started. The board launched a formal inquiry. Parents began speaking up: black, brown, and even white families who had long felt Whitaker enforced two sets of rules, one for the quiet, well-behaved students, and another for anyone who didn't fit his mold. The mold, it turned out, was white, wealthy, and compliant. Asha's story cracked the silence. But now, others were sharing their own. A girl suspended for wearing her natural curls in an afro. A boy marked as aggressive because he asked to retake a test. A teacher who left the school after being told to tone down her cultural lesson plans. The stories flooded in, and they all had one thing in common: Principal Whitaker. But Whitaker wasn't going down without a fight. Weeks passed. Asha's reinstatement gave her more than a spotlight, it gave her momentum. She crushed regionals with a fiery speech titled The Weaponization of Respectability and won. She became the face of a movement, her once muted voice now amplified by news anchors, activists, and students across the country. But the higher she climbed, the more dangerous it felt. Another note appeared, this time taped to her debate locker: "Stop digging or we'll bury the truth with you." Asha kept going. She had help now. Ms. Joyner. Her mom. Lila Whitaker. Even two teachers who came out of retirement to speak to the press. But the real break came when someone from inside the school district sent her an anonymous tip, an email with the subject line, "Files you didn't see." Inside was an attachment. Targeted students. Hidden expulsions that weren't on public record. Policies rewritten to protect the school's reputation, not the students. The worst part? Her name was on that list too. Next to it, watch closely. Potential agitator. Limit exposure. They had been trying to break her since sophomore year. Fueled by rage and purpose, Asha took the files straight to the district board. This wasn't just about suspension anymore. This was systemic. Calculated. And illegal. As the investigation deepened, Principal Whitaker resigned suddenly, citing personal reasons. But even as the headlines celebrated, Asha felt it. This wasn't a win. This was strategy. And then it happened. Late one evening, Asha returned home to find their apartment door slightly open. Her mom's car was outside. The lights were on. But the house was silent. Too silent. She stepped inside, heart pounding. Her mom's phone was on the kitchen table, screen cracked. The living room TV still playing the news. And a third note, placed on her pillow in the bedroom, trembling under the breeze of the ceiling fan: "You should have stopped when you could." The note in Asha's hand felt like ice. The house was empty, her mom's phone abandoned, her world spun. But she didn't cry. Not this time. Because fear had a short lifespan when you'd already walked through fire. She scanned the house. No signs of struggle. No forced entry. Nothing stolen. Whoever had done this didn't want money. They wanted control. Asha called the police. They came, took photos, asked half-hearted questions, and left with empty promises. But before they walked out, one officer muttered, "Maybe don't stir up so much trouble next time, huh?" Asha burned that moment into her memory. Next time. She would make sure there wouldn't be a next time, not for her, and not for the next black girl they tried to silence. Her mom showed up 2 hours later. She'd been taken in for questioning by Child Protective Services, an anonymous report claiming she was neglecting Asha. It was retaliation. A warning shot. But they had underestimated one thing. Asha wasn't the same girl who sat quietly outside the principal's office weeks ago. She reached out to Ms. Joyner, who called a civil rights attorney, who looped in a journalist, who connected her with an education reform group. And just like that, it exploded. The files, the memos, the patterns, they were broadcasted across national news. School board members who had stood silent were now panicking. Emails were leaked. Students testified. Teachers exposed more. Whitaker's resignation wasn't enough now, people wanted accountability. But the real game changer? The hidden security footage. Lila Whitaker, daughter of the disgraced principal, hacked into her father's cloud storage and found everything: private meetings, voice recordings, and most importantly, a video of a closed-door discussion between Whitaker and two board members where they laughed about how easy it was to manage the perception of black students by labeling them as aggressive. It was raw, vile, and damning. Asha posted the video herself. It reached 3 million views in a day. Lawsuits followed. Whitaker and two board members were arrested for tampering with student records and falsifying expulsion data to improve district funding numbers. The scandal became national news. But Asha wasn't done. At the school board meeting, standing in front of the same people who once ignored her voice, Asha delivered the speech of her life. No notes. Just truth. You told me I had a bad attitude. But what I had was audacity, to speak up, to ask why, to exist without shrinking. And you tried to break me. But all you did was give me a louder mic. Thunderous applause followed. Cameras flashed. She walked off the stage to find her mom waiting, arms wide, pride brighter than the sun. But the best part wasn't the justice, or the scholarships, or the interviews that followed. The best part was walking into that school again, this time with her afro out, head high, and seeing a wall freshly painted with her face and the words, "The revolution wasn't loud until she spoke." That should have been the end. But as Asha walked through the school hallway one final time, a janitor handed her an envelope. No name. Just a typed note inside: Whitaker wasn't the only one.